Hello and welcome to an overview of the Nomads units. I'll be your host Swkoll, and today we'll be looking over the units the Nomads has. This is meant to be an add-on to the video Napalm has done on his channel. Hopefully linked in the description, if I remember. But let's get started. So Nomads, if you don't know, are the 5th faction of Forged Alliance, coming after the Seraphim, and they're generally based on high DPS, fast moving, high fire rate type things, with low health, and not exceptional range, or anything like that. But I've loaded up settings, I've got my Nothing But Time mod installed, and I've got quite a few units to go over, so let's jump into it. On Tech 1 land, Nomads have the Tech 1 Tank Destroyer, which does 300 damage per shot, is fairly slow moving, and has quite the reload time. It has the mobile anti-air artillery, which can be chosen to either go with arty or anti-air. Shoots a silo of 4 missiles, and if there's an air target, it can shoot the arc high enough, and it can come down and hit them. Moving on, we got the Land Scout. It's a fairly cheap Land Scout, comparable to the Aeon Spirit. Got a weak gun, poor range, so you can't kite with it like you can the Snoop. But 23 health is decently useful. Light Tank is the equivalent of the Mech Marine. It can float, and has a very high fire rate, but at the end of the day, it's just slightly higher health than Mech Marine. Medium Tank also floats. The run-of-the-mill tank. Has a high fire rate, and can do decent DPS. So now that that's the Tech 1's out of the way, move on. Tech 2. They have quite a few interesting Tech 2. Actually, let's go Tech 1 Engineering Suite, because that's simple. This is the PGen. Tech 1 point defense, run-of-the-mill point defense, but has higher fire rate than all the other point defenses by like 1 point something shots per second. It shoots 1 shot every 0.2 seconds, where all the others do 1 every 0.3 seconds. Anti-air turret, fairly decent. Not really exceptional though. Wall segment used to be different, but it is getting standardized in the next patch, so that shouldn't matter as much. Radar, I believe this is standard. It has a radar boost. Let me check. See, a slightly different radar. It has 15 less range, but it has a radar boost function, which can use extra energy to boost the radar. And it has a death weapon, which could be helpful or harmful. Most likely harmful, because it will damage your power. But that's just how it goes. Tech 2. We've got quite a few interesting units. They've got the EMP tank, which, as you can guess, it's a tank that shoots EMPs. It can be switched to bombard mode, which it stays still and shoots at a much higher fire rate. While non-bombard mode, it can just shoot while moving. Mobile Tech 2 anti-air arty, similar to the Tech 1. Not really an exceptional unit, can't even float. No, it's not an arty, it's just anti-air. Not exceptional at all. The Crusader Tech 2 heavy tank. This, I believe, it has quite a bit of health. Lowish fire rate. Has a nice mini triad on top. And good stuff. Moving on. we have the fast assault tank, which, as it says in the name, it's fast, moves at the speed of a Tech 1 scout, and is an assault tank, kind of like what the Aeon have with the Blaze. Got a nice twin turret gun that can shoot quite quickly. It's about half the health of a pillar, so not too good in the health department. DPS is average for what you'd expect it to be. Mobile missile launcher isn't that particular. It can go underwater. Let me just load it into a Tech 2 transport. You can see exactly why it seems so interesting. Tech 2 transport is essentially a reskinned UEF Tech 2 transport, but we'll get into air in a minute. So it can be dropped into the water, kind of like the Wanger, and then it can shoot from underwater. Could be used as interesting naval bombardment. Shoots a nice silo, 2 missiles, reasonable accuracy, but not too accurate. Now, the really interesting unit they have is they have a field engineer, Garib. It's quite like the UEF's Sparky, which might get buffed in the next patch. Everyone should just go read the Forge Alliance Forever forums in the winter patch. They're thinking about buffing the Sparky. Not exactly clear how it's going to happen, but this is essentially the Sparky without the gun, with a radar boost, and with a TMD mounted on it. It's pretty weak. It does 1/3 DPS, but it could be useful in a PD creep. It has the limited suite. You can build these units, whereas the standard Tech 2 engineer can build these units, well, plus the water, like the torpedoes, but that's another thing. They've got typical air staging. Their Tech 2 arty is kind of average. It has, although what it does have is it sacrifices 10 or so DPS from the UEF equivalent for slightly more AoE, from a value of 3 to a value of 4. Firing tolerance is typical. It has almost twice the fire rate though, making it a very good anti-naval weapon. Much harder to dodge in large numbers because it shoots twice as fast. TML. Average TML. It shoots things with missiles. Their TMD is decent, not awful UEF TMD or extremely low range Aeon TMD, but it's not quite as good as Cybern. So it's essentially Seraphim TMD. That's as easy as I can put it. Tech 2 radar, similar to Tech 1, slightly smaller range penalty for the radar boost. Now we should move on to the Tech 3 land, and then we can move on further. So we've got Tech 3 land. Nomads have quite a few interesting tools. They've got, where is it? The Tech 3 super heavy tank. If the Othman, the Percival, had a child, it would be the Nova. It's quite fast for a Tech 3 unit. It's got slightly better than Otham DPS, although quite a bit more expensive, and has a lot of health for what you'd expect. It moves, but it has quite a movement speed, quite a fire rate. You could easily kite well, not kite, but dodge Percival shots with this thing. Turn rate is a bit lacking for that, though. I haven't seen it be used in a game, so you might be able to kite Percivals. The mobile party is average. Doesn't do that much, has same AoE cost damage as a standard Tech 3 mobility. Now, the Tech 3 mobile anti-air costs about 2.5 as much as a Tech 2 flak of the faction. That would be this guy over here. Now, he gets about twice the health, twice the DPS, and a slight range increase, making it all around a very competent late-game anti-air weapon, allowing the Nomads base to be completely mobile and not force them to turtle like other factions who want Tech 3 anti-air. Especially the Aeon, whose Tech 2 stationary flak is absolutely awful. Their mobile is nice, but it shoots pellets. Now, Tech 3. What should we do next? Tech 3 structures, Tech 3... Let's go Tech 3 air. Or just air. Nomads have a Tech 1 transport. This is essentially a good cost per spot, although it only has 4 transport hooks, so only 4 Tech 1 units. Seems a lot more responsive than other transports, though, so that might be useful if you like your fast-moving units. Now, they also have a gesture analog called the Golem, which would essentially be a gesture. Tech 1 gunship costs about the same as a gesture. I think exactly the same as a gesture. Most likely has the same stats. Now, the Splatter is the Tech 1 bomber. Now, this is a very interesting Tech 1 bomber because it shoots forward. And it shoots a silo of missiles like you just saw there. So you can take out precision targets with it. Although it lacks any sort of AoE that a normal bomber would have, like the Seraphim, it has quite good accuracy, and it has the capacity to shoot forward. That would be quite nice. Tech 1 interceptors, splash, absolutely typical. The fighter bomber, which make it quite an interesting unit. I think this goes along with first the style of rockets, then the bombs come off. I think this is equivalent to more the UEF rather than the Cybern. It has a decent air-to-air capacity, rather than the Cybern. It can't do much versus other air units type thing. Now, Tech 2 torpedo gunship. As you'd expect, doesn't shoot land. It does, but it shoots torpedoes. Does it? Wait. Not sure about this unit. I would expect it would shoot torpedoes because it's a torpedo gunship. Yep. I guess it does some damage to land, and then the torpedo kicks in. Tech 2 transport. It can shoot. It's essentially a UEF transport. It looks like a UEF transport. It is a UEF transport. I'll put the name, which is just an air transport. Now the Stat Bomber. It has a very nice AoE, but not so good damage. So let's just take this guy for a spin. Tell him to kill all of our NGs. The massive AoE, especially compared to other Tech 3 bombers. About the same cost. Slightly less health than other bombers, but should be effective unit against armies rather than sniping. I suppose if you wanted to snipe, you'd probably have to go for the Tech 2 bomber. The fighter bomber, anyway. Nomads don't look too good for sniping. They're better at moving around the battlefield and getting their army right next to you and then killing you with that. But onwards, we've got Tech 3 spy plane. I believe that's a good health for a spy plane. It will scout the no fog of war. Doesn't have a sonar, which makes it decent, I guess, or not as good as it could be. Tech 3 heavy gunship. About the same health as the Strat bomber, I believe. This is the equivalent of the UEFs. Oh, whatchamacallit. Well, they have a heavy gunship as well. Quite similar to this one. Better DPS, less health than a gunship. Makes it good against in air-to-air combat. Not so much in sniping ground units, because the anti-air will do much more damage to it. Now, ASF, typical ASF, Thunder. Now let's move on to some more interesting stuff. Well, this is all kind of interesting, but I already know all of this, so it's not the most interesting thing. World, got the Wedge. It shoots torpedoes as a Tech 1 attack submarine does. Except it won't, because it's mean. There we go, 2 torpedoes. Looks like silos of 2. All that jazz. Frigate, fairly generic as well. Got 1.7k health. A nice weapon. Got radar sonar. Really nice fire rate though. This will make cleaning up NGs really amazing. Like if you get one of these parked behind your opponent's naval production, all their NGs will be dead. Very, very quickly. Especially compared to like the Aeon or Seraphim. The UEF gun has a fairly nice fire rate. Onward we've got Tech. It has a homing missile and a bombardment. We can just go ahead and use the bombardment on land. We know this is the wrong unit. Cruiser does not have bombardment. Destroyer does. It also has an EMP weapon, which can be used to stun. We're seeing the main weapon and the EMP come in. Destroyer, bombard mode, gives it higher fire rate, although the destroyer does not have any torpedo capacity. So it looks very cool. Otherwise we've got the railgun boat, which, as you would assume, kind of like the Cooper, in that it is made to counter torpedoes. It has a nice anti-torpedo weapon on the bottom, and has TMD mounted on the top. Its turn rate is so nice. Can't get over it. Nomads so far appear to be great versus Aeon Navy. Just this boat will dodge them all day long. Tech 3, we've got the Juggernaut Heavy Destroyer. This is a beast of a naval unit. It's got its own bombard mode. Swkoll is quite a heavy submersible cannon. Now the Nomads also get an aircraft carrier. This has 150 build capacity, which is essentially almost 3 Tech 3 air factories. But it's mobile, I guess, so that's a good thing. You can have it build any air unit you want. You can have it build carpet bombers. Oh, I didn't build the carpet Well, the carpet bomber is the strategic bomber, just with a different name. Fortunately, it has to stop to build stuff, so that's unfortunate. But you can fit quite a few of these in here. Let's see how many I had it build up before this. See how many ASF it can build. Obviously quite a lot. It's a physics-defying aircraft carrier, can store 50 ASF. Otherwise, it has flares. It has artillery support, which is an interesting AoE Nomads have. It buffs nearby artillery, just to make it better. I believe it gives it a fire rate buff. Possibly a DPS buff, but don't quote me on that. Meanwhile, we've got this tactical submarine. Lacks any strategic capability, so if you're hoping to get a strategic sub to nuke someone, it isn't going to happen. But its tactical missile, quite a nice DPS on it. Also, it has good torpedoes. Also, this has very good anti-air on it. Just point that out. And it can fire its missiles from underwater. So, that would wrap up the Navy. If I don't forgetting anything. Got a sonar with its own radar boost. It's mobile. Lacks torpedo capacity like other factions do. But otherwise it should be fairly good. Tech 3 structures. Anti-SAM launcher. This is the anti-SAM launcher. Essentially a run-of-the-mill SAM launcher, but has higher fire rate, less health. So I suppose that's quite good under shields and versus not Tech 3 Navy. I mean Tech 3 Air. Especially good versus that. Got your run-of-the-mill. It's exactly UAF power. They didn't even reskin that yet. Do not pay attention to the untextured thing. Got your factories. Quite different looks between them. Tech 1, Tech 3. Got your stationary arty. Not really working. Can't figure out why. It refuses to fire. Very glitchy right now. Don't pay attention to the bugs. Beamer. Very small, cheap, versatile unit. Kinda like the Monkey Lord. But the best thing about this, you can load it into a transport and it can fire from the transport. This is the experimental transport though. It's essentially made for this purpose alone. Although I wonder if this gets implemented, they'll have to create air mixing rules so you won't put mech marines on this thing. It's completely overpowered. Now how do I get this thing to shoot? I presume it would just shoot enemy units as they come across. And put it down. Bulldog's the ultra heavy tank. It's kind of like a medium range bombardment type thing. Kind of like the Fatty, except not as versatile. Also, it hovers. So if you want a floating experimental, yeah, all of these experimentals actually hover. Just put it down, please, thank you. Now this is the missile tank. Long-range missile bombardment. Fires up silos of missiles in all sorts of different directions. Does quite a bit of damage. Now the planetary defense cannon. You can shoot anywhere on the map. And our spaceship friend should head over there, I believe. Right? No. Excuse me if I sound really tired. I am. Now, just the cannon will shoot. Let me just see if I can get through this quickly. I've selected 3 support commanders. This one, set up to be the offensive run in there. Got the double repair. Got the double upgrade gun and the left gun. This is your eco support commander. It's got the res. It's got double engineering. Support commanders for the Nomads are very versatile. You can customize them much more. This is the sniper. Got the sniper mode in both guns. These are essentially the 3 later support commanders that you want. There we go. Not quite the power on it. Reclaim the force because I told you to. Otherwise, what do I have left? Nukes. Nukes are fun. They have a very interesting nuke explosion. Gets over there, see it. Nomad shields are about average. They're not Seraphim shields. They're not UEF cyber shields. They're just decent. I believe they're ranked under the Seraphim. Now let's take a good look. And set in mid, being completely destroyed by a Nomad's nuke. Quite interesting animation. And is the Nomad's logo when it finishes off. That's also the these guys' explosion. They actually it might not be theirs, but it's the commanders. Check out him in a minute. Commander has almost the same upgrades, so he has this, which is orbital bombardment. We'll get that. Tech 3 isn't that useful. And he has an intel probe, which can scout pretty much anywhere you want it to. And we'll send out an intel probe. It'll look. Oh wait. Just finish this upgrade really quickly. Intel probe. Probe. This is the area bombardment. I believe every time it's constructed, it has a little longer to when you can build the next one. So you will come over and spy on it. So it might be a good idea to wait till late game to build those things. So it's increasing. We get orbital bombardment. Just the orbital cannon comes down and shoots at it. Tactical missile launch. I've got TMLs you can shoot. And there's also gun is interesting because it has a very long range gun. Get the sniper upgrade on it. Double guns. Single slot. Sniper. Quite a bit of noise going on. Quiet. You guys be quiet. Also, that guy can go on transport. Forgot to show that. So now the ACU has quite a bit of range. Enter sniping mode. Did I give him that upgrade? No, I didn't. Now he can enter sniping mode. It gets a very long range and can shoot this far, which I believe outranges the Tech 2 point defense. That upgrade might be worth it to just take out Tech 2 point defense. With double guns on the right arm. Be quite an effective long range bombardment. So, I believe that wraps up everything. Hope you enjoyed this cast, and yeah, well, not a cast, but Nomads Overview. And good night.